Welcome back everyone to a new Wuchang Fallen Feathers speculation video. Today we've got some more interesting lore and gameplay features to share that might catch your attention, and hopefully help you understand the game better before you dive into this journey yourself. Many players who joined the playtest said that Wuchang is pretty tough, but it's not just because of strong enemies. There are also traps and monsters that can jump out at you from anywhere. Some traps can be used to hurt enemies, but there are also tricky ones you can't predict, like this checkpoint mimic. Players also mentioned that the distance between checkpoints can feel pretty long. Regular enemies are very aggressive and have long attack combos. And if your inner demon shows up during a fight, things get even more intense. The bosses in this game vary between humans and monsters. The game's story revolves around the feathering disease, which seems like a side effect of dark rituals that involve harvesting the dead to gain power and immortality. This method originally came from the Avians, a feathered clan from thousands of years ago. But when humans try to use it to cultivate power, they usually end up turning into grotesque monsters. Some bosses look like monks and have names like Grave Robber or Man-Eating, and the piles of skeletons around them hint that they were performing dark rituals. Another very unique boss is the Perfect Bride, Fengling. The large room she's in, with all the talismans and coffins, suggests that this might be a ghost marriage ceremony. Ghost marriage is a real folk practice where one or both parties are dead. The belief is that if a spirit can't find peace, it might return to harm living family members. So, the family would marry the deceased to another deceased person to calm their spirit. In her second phase, Fengling turns into a monster that looks like a flying head ghost, similar to the Rokurokubi in Japanese folklore, a yokai with a long neck. When Wuchang enters the room, Fengling calls her sister, which makes you wonder, was she forced to replace her sister and marry a dead man? Or was she used as a blood sacrifice? We don't know yet. We'll have to wait until the game comes out to find out more. In the last video, I mentioned the eunuch boss named Liu Chengen, a loyal subject of the Chongzhen Emperor. He's actually based on a real historical figure named Wang Chengen. After the Chongzhen Emperor hanged himself, Wang Chengen famously remained loyal and took his own life as well. In the game, however, he is reimagined as Liu Chengen. Unlike the historical version, the Emperor orders him to go to a border town to protect him from the power struggles within the imperial court. After hearing about the Emperor's death, Liu Chengen carries the Emperor's spirit tablet on his back as a sign of deep mourning. When he learns there might be a way to bring the Emperor back to life, he dedicates himself entirely to that goal. The hanging soldiers seen in his barracks might very well have been sacrificed for these dark rituals. Some other bosses also have a really strong bird-like appearance. For example, there's one that looks exactly like the cursed avian creatures shown in the lore trailer. Maybe these bosses are descendants of the feathered clan, just like Wuchang. Or maybe they're actually the original avians from thousands of years ago, still alive because they've been using dark rituals on the dead to keep themselves going. As a Souls-like, having interesting lore and secrets is like the cherry on top. And this game definitely doesn't fall short. It's full of lore, plus rich cultural and historical elements. As I mentioned in my previous video, the game is heavily inspired by myths from the late Ming Dynasty and Sanxingdui culture. It includes not just historical events from the fall of the Ming Dynasty, but also legends going all the way back to the story of Du Yu and Bie Ling in the 7th century BC, up to the last Ming emperor, Chongzhen. In the game, Du Yu is reimagined as Duriel, a god-touched figure who came through a mystical gate. With great wisdom and a powerful relic, Duriel tried to lead his feathered avian clan to prosperity, teaching them to control the laws of causality and pursue eternal life. But messing with causality led to a terrible side effect, a curse-like disease later known as feathering, which slowly turned infected people into grotesque monsters. To save his people, Duriel gave up on his original goal and urged them to follow nature and transform into human form instead. However, a faction led by Bieling betrayed their kind. They harvested dead avians for dark rituals. In the end, Duriel used his relic to strike down Bieling, shattering it into 5 pieces, each shaped like a chisel. In Chinese history, chisels were used to carve cultural artifacts, make statues, and engrave text into stone. In other words, they were tools to write history. In the game, it strongly suggests that whoever holds these chisels can reshape or even alter history itself. They can also grant reincarnation, basically allowing someone to manipulate causality. In the skill tree, the chisel acts as a core to power up different abilities. At the checkpoints, which are clearly Duriel shrines, we see Wuchang use a chisel to cut her hand and offer blood. In return, she regains health and vitality, shown as absorbing ashes and feathers. It's like some kind of sacrificial ritual, where those infected by feathering offer blood and the dead to gain life force. Interestingly, the original Chinese term for feathering is feathering ascension, which in Taoism can mean becoming immortal or ascending to immortality. When Wuchang kills an enemy infected by feathering, they turn into ashes and feathers. But this doesn't happen to normal humans. It looks like she's absorbing their life force at the shrines. In the trailers, we see many bosses and enemies twisted into monstrous forms from this disease, but Wuchang doesn't seem affected. She can use Skyborn Might skills, which suggests she's from the Feathered Clan bloodline. So, feathering is likely a curse that affects those who meddle with ancient methods of gaining immortality, similar to certain cultivation practices. Some bosses look like monks and have names like Grave Robber or Man-Eating, and the piles of skeletons around them hint that they were performing dark rituals. After this analysis, a question comes to mind. If Duyu is an immortal who holds a relic that can manipulate causality and alter history, does that mean he's actually someone who can travel through time to change the past? If we look closely at the gate shown in the lore trailer, there are two symbols that form ancient bone script characters, Mo, which means the end, and Shang, which means birth, or the beginning. Could this be a hint that Duyu traveled back in time to rewrite history? But in this timeline, because the relic was shattered, essentially shattering causality itself, he could no longer carry out his original plan. If we also look at the symbol Wuchang uses at the shrine, it resembles the endless knot, which represents causality. Cause always leads to effect, and the cycle continues. The shattering might represent the current timeline where causality is broken. I really hope the game will eventually reveal an interesting answer to all of this. And that's all for this speculation video on Wuchang. I really hope the game turns out great. There's nothing that makes a gamer happier than stunning visuals woven into a great story. Stay tuned for more.